My name is Evan. I'm a 21-year-old college dropout, and I just quit my job to go all in on building a business and starting a company, which is what I've always wanted to do. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the frameworks that I think through whenever I'm making a big, risky decision. Here they are. Now, before I share them, here are some of the scary decisions that I've had to make or big risks that I've taken so you can see where I'm coming from. Number one was I grew up in a cult and I had to tell my parents that I was leaving or no longer believed in the same things that I grew up believing. Number two was I dropped out of college and had to tell my parents that I was dropping out of college. Number three, I moved across the country twice with everything I had, with no plan, nowhere to stay. And the first time I didn't even have a car. And then number four, I quit my dream job working for a mentor that I'd looked up to for years to go all in on something that's completely unknown with barely any money in the bank account. And so those are only a few of the lot of risky decisions that I've made or risks that I've taken in the last couple of years. And every time that I've done it, it was completely calculated and thought through to the fullest extent. And here are some of the frameworks that I use to think through these decisions whenever I'm making them, to know whether it's time to push through my current situation or pivot and go leave and do the risky thing. Here they are. And you'll want to stick around for the third one, because number three is the biggest and most determining factor by far out of all of them. So number one is usually whenever I'm at this point, it's usually at a point where I am miserable in my current situation. I no longer like what I'm doing on the day-to-day, to the point where it is brutal to even just show up. And that's not the type of person that I am. If you know who I am, which most of you watching this probably don't, everything that I do at 150%. I go all in, or I don't do it at all. And so if I'm having trouble even showing up to something every single day, that's an indicator to me that there's probably something wrong with what I'm doing. Number two is when I start imagining or picturing my life outside of the thing that I'm currently doing on the day-to-day basis. And so when I was in college, when I was living within the cult, and number three, when I was in my last job, I started picturing myself in another life. I started picturing myself doing something different, spending my time, whether it's another job, another career, or in this case, it was starting my own company. And so when I'm constantly picturing myself doing something different than what my reality is on the day-to-day basis, that's another indicator that, hey, maybe it's time to look at pivoting. And then the third and biggest thing that determines when I actually make the move to do the risky thing, to leave the safe option and to go all in on myself, is this one thing. It's when I wake up in the morning and I realize that I have the question in my head of what if. That I have wanting to do this thing so bad that if I don't go and do it and I were to die tomorrow, that I would die with regret. That I would have the question in my head of what if I would have gone out and pursued that thing. And that is one of the core principles that I live by, that I will never, ever, ever die with the question of what if. No matter what the circumstances, I would rather live in my car with no money and no food and starve to death. And I know that that sounds extreme, but it's the truth. I'd rather go out and pursue the thing that's in my head and live in those circumstances, but knowing that I'm chasing the thing that I want to chase, than live comfortably with a roof over my head and food all the time with the question of what if I were to go do that thing, what would my life look like? Because at the end of the day, we really do only get one life. And a lot of people say that and they talk about it, but not a lot of people live by that philosophy. I live by that philosophy every single day in every decision that I make, in every path that I choose to pursue. And so in all of these pivotal points in my life, when I dropped out of college, when I told my parents I no longer shared their beliefs, when I left my dream job, at all of these points, the determining factor that made me make the decision to actually leave and cut the rope was I woke up every single day with the question of, if I were to stay here and not leave and go do this thing that I see in my head, right, from number two of imagining something different, if I don't go and do that thing and I were to die tomorrow, I would have the regret. And I would have the question of what if I would have gone out and chased that thing. And if that's ever the case, that is an immediate indicator to me that I need to stop what I'm doing right now and I need to go do that other thing. And so that's what I did. That happened when I left college. It happened when I moved across the country 2 times. And it happened when I left my dream job. And so now I'm going all in on chasing my dream. I'm not sharing advice. This is just documenting the things that I'm going through, some of the thoughts that I think through whenever I'm making a decision like this. And so this is me documenting the journey of what it's like building the Sidewalk Effect. It is a advertising Street Magic interview company. So we do Street Magic interviews for consumer brands, consumer products. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out at the Sidewalk Effect. This is just me documenting my journey along the way. And so I've made a couple of really risky decisions lately, and they say risky because I don't even believe in risk. Because the worst that happens is you're sleeping on a friend's couch and you're eating peanut butter sandwiches. Really not that bad. And the worst thing that can happen is you can die, and if you're dead, you'll be dead, so you won't really care. And so a lot of people talk about that, and you hear a lot of these guys on social media speak about that, but very few people actually live it. I do. And so this is me just kind of documenting my journey, sharing with you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't, scroll along. But if you did, like it, subscribe it. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about some other stuff. Again, this is not me sharing advice. This is just me documenting what's worked for me and some of the things that I've thought through. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Rah.